Wednesday. My 5-day win streak had to come to an end last night, unfortunately. I know you had the same side as me in the game, Western Kentucky, man. That was absolutely fucking pathetic. If you told me Western Kentucky's defense was going to hold them to 20 points, I would have probably bet even more money on the game. So it's a good thing nobody told me that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The same thing with Liberty last night too, because I was on Liberty last night as well, and that was just one of those games that if you told me Liberty's defense was going to look like that, when it hasn't looked like that all season, realistically, and let up big play after big play after big play to a Middle Tennessee State team who is, I would say, just the biggest thief when it comes to coin snatching my money. As I have lost almost every single bet against Middle Tennessee State that I have placed. Gonna have to be kind of a team that I start riding along because TP, they keep snatching my money, bro. Snatching my money. It is absolutely one of the worst things that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll tell you what, TP, I don't know how you feel about these week games. And that we, obviously it's a great thing. We get to have college football every week. We get to bet on it every single day. It's awesome. But these middle of the week games, man, TP, I'm not gonna lie, they're absolutely destroying me, bro. They're gonna be the death of me by the end of this season. I don't know if you feel the same way, but these games, like, I mean, and it's so weird because the sharp side has always usually been the best side to be on when it comes to being picking a side of the game. The sharp better. The public is raking on these big time games. TP, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I always feel like college football, the public can definitely have a day in for the most part. But I agree with you, though, Lloyd. These day games have been pretty weird. Actually, last week, only bet I lost was fucking Louisiana Tech on a Tuesday. And then I think I've lost all 3 bets I've placed on a weeknight so far this season. So maybe I need to stop betting on these like Tuesday, Wednesday night college football games. I swore I wasn't going to do it today. And then I looked at everything and I was like, there's no way I'm not going to not bet on this game tonight. So honestly, if they don't hit for me tonight, I'm definitely not going to do it. And, I've always been a guy, too, where I never like bet on Maction. Like, I'm always just like, man, I'm sure I know you probably pay better attention to Maction since you're from like that area. But for me, like, I feel like I know Conference USA and the Sun Belt pretty well. Like, usually on Saturdays when I bet on Conference USA and Sun Belt games, I win. So the way I look at them, like, oh, I know these teams. I'm going to bet on these games, and they've just been fucking me for whatever reason.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, I mean, let's kind of get into it tonight. We got two big games for tonight. FIU. All of these games tonight, I've been fucked by every single one of these teams. So let's talk about this. Pretty much last week, I took Sam Houston State. Okay, I took Sam Houston State last week against New Mexico State to cover. They did not. I took FIU to play UTEP last week. Took them to cover to 3.5, I believe it was last week against UTEP, which they should have done. Nevertheless, FIU puts on an absolute the shittiest first quarter I've ever seen in my life, down 21-0 to UTEP last week, and tried to fight back, just couldn't get there because of their quarterback, which is a situation that we're going to dissect on this show today. The first game tonight is FIU versus Sam Houston State tonight. Sam Houston State, who is 0-6, by the way. FIU comes in at 3-4 this season, looking for their first win of the season at home tonight. They're -5.5. I'll come to you first, TP. What is your kind of play in this game? I know you've capped it. I've capped it as well. I think we might be on the same side here. What is your play in the game for tonight in that one?
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw or not, Lloyd. First of all, that FIU UTEP game was on bad beats this week. It was like for the over, like you needed 7 points to hit the over, and they kicked 2 field goals, and it was just like a bunch of fumbles. It was an absolutely disgusting game. Yeah. It was a bad beat though for Van Pelt, and I think it was who was it? Stanford Steve said he even bet on the game, so he watched every play. I was like, damn, I feel bad for you, Stanford Steve. But anyway, for this game tonight, I actually stayed away from this one. I bet on the later game, but the way I looked at this game was, so I honestly thought that taking Sam Houston State probably the right side. I mean, it's an 0-6 team laying 5.5 points. Like, that's got to be, like the ultimate trap, them trying to get people to take the dog. But then I looked at the query, and when you're an 0-6 team and you're favored it was like 8-10 against the spread, so it really wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, and then too much to talk about for sure.
Yeah, I was just like, damn, I don't even want to try to catch the falling knife here with Sam Houston State. I'm just going to stay the fuck away from them.
Yeah, which is smart. And Larry, welcome in, brother. We're glad that you're here. We missed you as always. Good to have you, Larry. And again, my TP, this game tonight, FIU Sam Houston State, is the battle of the shitter. Is exactly what it is. Both these offenses are garbage. And both these defenses are also not very good. Sam Houston State's defense actually has not looked bad at times this season. Really only allowing only allowing, I think, over 21 points in 3 of their games this season, and a close against Liberty, who was 6-0, who got lucky last night. We talk about that a little bit, but I did take Sam Houston State in this game, and there's one reason why. I've watched this FIU team play 2 games. Okay, their quarterback, Keon Johnson, is absolutely awful. And when I mean awful, I mean there's 133 FBS teams in college football, and he ranks 128th in total.
Wow.
No. TP, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. There's 128 teams in FBS in college football. He ranks 133rd as a quarterback. There are 5 backups that are better than him as a quarterback when it comes to QBR, and he averages 18.5 QBR so far this season. He has thrown 5 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. This kid, and he's not one of them dual threat guys. He got 48 rushing yards on the season. He's a true sophomore, and he's just not very good. He doesn't make great decisions. He's not good in game time, especially when coming to the end of the game, man. Actually want to trying to get it done, crawl back in the game, fight for, any type of first down, any type of momentum that you can get your team. He just is not that guy. Which is why I took Sam Houston State tonight in this game. Their defense is better. If their offense was going to have any night where it could be an explosive night for them offensively, it's tonight against this FIU defense that allows 27 points per game and allowed to a 2-5 UTEP team last week, allowed 3 plays of over 70 yards against a UTEP team who is not good. So Sam Houston State tonight, I think, is the right play. Like you said, I do think that it is weird that the line, I actually called Gutsy earlier today and said, Guts, this line should be at 3. It should be Sam Houston State -3. It's not -3. So basically tonight you're betting on them to win by a touchdown. I don't love that. I thought about taking FIU for a second, but then I was like, man, you know what? I'm not going to get fucked by this team again. So Sam Houston State tonight it is for me, -5.5. They're better defensively. Their offense has, it's not great. They're averaging 11 points a game. Sam Houston State is, but again, if there was any ever night, TP, that they were going to be able to put the ball in the end zone, it's tonight. I like the game to go under. I don't think there's going to be that many points scored in the game, but I easily see a game that we can walk out of here with a 24-17 ball game, and Sam Houston State somehow miraculously wins the game. So that is the side that I'm on tonight. In that game, Sam Houston State, they do get their first win. I think it is at home tonight. And this is a team as well that is just hungry to win a football game. And it's hard to bet against those teams when you're 0-6. There's only 2 teams in college football, Nevada and Sam Houston State, that are 0-6 in conference play. I mean, it's just tough, man. So this is a tough spot for Sam Houston State to be in. They're back at home after a bad loss last week to New Mexico State, where they didn't even cover the spread. I think both these teams are 3-4 this year, or I think FIU is 3-4 against the spread. Sam Houston State is 3-2-1 against the spread. It's kind of a toss-up game, like I said, battle of the shitter. But Sam Houston State, I do have them coming out on top tonight and covering the spread for all the boys in the chat. Now, on to New Mexico State versus UTEP tonight. The game is in UTEP, I do believe, tonight. And New Mexico State coming off a win, obviously, against Sam Houston State, and UTEP coming in off a win against FIU. TP, I know you got to play in this game tonight. What is it?
So, Lloyd, I ended up having to do it, man. I had to go with New Mexico State -3. I said I wasn't going to bet on any games on any college football tonight. I was just going to stick with my one play in baseball. But when I looked at the numbers, man, there was no way I wasn't not pulling the trigger. First of all, their quarterback, Diego Pavia, he still is a legend for hitting that under for me in the bowl game. So I'll always love him for that. But New Mexico, yeah, he's a legend for that one, dude. He ran for like 4 fourth downs on like a 9-minute drive that burned out the clock. Huge win for me. But this New Mexico State offense, they rank 16th in the country in offensive success rate, and they're especially good through explosive plays in the air, where they rank 8th nationally in explosive passing. And then they're also 33rd in rush success rate, and rush rate, and 4th in rush success rate. And FIU and UTEP's defense, sorry, all these teams with these fucking initials got me all confused.
I know.
They're
seriously.
98th in offenses. Yeah, bro. It's ridiculous.
Everybody has a long initial name. It's awful.
Yeah, dude, that's Conference USA for you.
Right.
Like New Mexico State's UTEP's run defense is terrible. They're 109th in run defense, and they're 101st in run explosiveness. Yep. I mean, and they're 98th in offensive success rate. They can do nothing on offense. Their defense can't stop anybody. I think New Mexico State runs the ball all over them in this game. I should be shocked to see it go over, but I think New Mexico State can get it done.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I took New Mexico State as well. Honestly, because this is my first time watching this quarterback quarterback last week, man. And this guy can play football, man. I mean, he's actually pretty
Mm-hmm.
accurate with the football. He's decision wise, he's okay, but I think the biggest part about him is he's a dual threat kind of guy. And UTEP has struggled in the past with dual threat quarterbacks. Last week, I think that why UTEP was so successful against FIU is because of Keon Johnson being so kind of diverse, not in the run game and not being as explosive when it comes to running the football and making him sit in the pocket. Pavia's not a guy that's going to do that tonight, TP. I mean, he's going to run all over the field, and I think it's going to cause a lot of problems for UTEP. And I said this earlier, UTEP's defense is not good. Do not let the fact that they held FIU last week to 14 points be the factor in which you make your decision tonight on why you bet New Mexico State, because you should. And this is a spot for them where on the road, UTEP coming off a big road win against FIU, kind of now you go back home, right, feeling a little bit good. And I think New Mexico State lays the hammer on them tonight. This is not a good defense. New Mexico State's offense is averaging 27 points a game, and this UTEP offense is not explosive at all. Yeah, I think the game could probably go over because New Mexico State's defense ain't great, but they're going to put up some points tonight. That's the one thing I can promise you. I looked at their team total earlier. I forget what it was. I can pull it up here on DK. That was one of the other bets that I absolutely loved tonight. Was New Mexico State team total, because last night, I don't know if you guys noticed this on SoBet, but one of my biggest plays, 2-unit play for me yesterday on SoBet, was South Alabama's team total over 35.5 points.
Easy.
Easy, man. They hit it almost in the first half. I mean, they scored 55 points in that game. It was super easy, and that was one of the better bets that I had on the night, which I love. Let me see. I'm going to pull this up here. Team props. Here we go. Yeah, right here, man. They got it at 24.5, man. They got 24.5. They got UTEP at 22.5. That's on DK. That's just a play that I would absolutely love. I don't think that there's a possibility tonight that New Mexico State goes out here and does not score 27 points. So again, I'm on the same side as you, TP. I think both these games, it's one of those situations, TP, where you hate being on both the favorites. You never like being on both favorites, especially in games like this. And I had a weird feeling last night too, because I was on Liberty and I was on Western Kentucky, and I was thinking about taking South Alabama. Well, South Alabama was obviously the play last night, and it was Liberty and Western Kentucky that just didn't get there last night. That Liberty spread was way too big. We should have thought about that before, but it's all right. You win some, you lose some, and you bounce on. So the plays for tonight, fellas, me and TP both on the same side in this game tonight when it comes to New Mexico State. Deepak, shout out the boy Deepak Picks, man. Pavia is a dog.
Yes,
he absolutely
Deepak
is. But we'll take New Mexico State tonight -3 is what that is, and I got the 5.5 on Sam Houston State. If I would tell you to bet one of those games, I would tell you to take New Mexico State. Absolutely. So college football here on a Wednesday night, we absolutely love it. Going into Thursday night tomorrow, obviously big time NFL game here, TP, is Jags versus Saints. Now, Jags are 4-2. They're coming in off a big time divisional win against the Colts. In a game which, yeah, they put up a lot of points. Yeah, their defense played pretty good, but Anthony Richardson is going to pretty much undergo season-ending surgery, and Gardner Minshew is going to be the guy in Indy. So in that offense by itself, the Colts offense kind of has not gotten as explosive. You still got to get Jonathan Taylor in the mix with Zach Moss. That's a weird situation over there in Indy. I think that game last week was a little bit weird. And we get the 3-3 Saints, man, who are coming in off a bad loss against the Texans. This is a Saints team that's been up and down kind of all season. TP. They can't really get it together fully on the offensive side of the ball, which I don't love. Obviously, Derek Carr was hurt for a little bit of stunt there, but now he's back. The Jags are in full motion. Trevor Lawrence has looked pretty good, decision-making wise and accuracy wise. Going into this game tomorrow night, spreads 1.5. The Saints are favored at home. TP, do you think this is kind of a bait game for the Saints or what?
Dude, look, I'm obviously a Falcons fan, so I'm a little biased, but at the same time, there's no bias for me when it comes to betting my money, guys.
Yeah.
The Saints suck. I told you guys this last week. Look at who they beat. They beat like Tennessee by 1 point.
Yep.
They didn't even cover the spread against the Panthers. Like this, there was somebody else too they beat in there who's not a good team. Like whenever the Saints have gone up against good teams, they've lost.
Right.
Houston dominated them in that game last week. Like, I don't understand how this – well, I know why the Saints are favored here. They're favored here because Trevor Lawrence is possibly not going to play in this game, and I'm going to sit back and wait because if Trevor Lawrence plays, I'm taking the Jags, and if he doesn't play, I'm just going to take the Jags at a better number. This Jags defense is legit. I was trying to pull up their defensive numbers right now, but I couldn't. I don't know, my computer's being all slow, so I didn't want to freeze up the screen.
Who is the Jags backup? Who is it?
CJ Beathard.
Wow, is it really Beathard?
Yeah, from the 49ers.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I think Beathard could get it done. The Saints aren't going to score any points. Like, the Saints offense can't move the football. This
Yeah.
Jags defense gets after the quarterback. They force turnovers like they did last week against Indianapolis. Indianapolis looks like they threw for a bunch of yards because it was all garbage time. Unfortunately, I was on the Colts and I was wrong on that one. We watched them shut down the Bills team.
Yep.
Travis Etienne has been going crazy lately. He's going to run all over the Saints defense. Also, the Saints' 2 starting tackles will be out in this game. They were both listed as out today. Obviously, Lawrence, we don't know if he's going to play or not. Doesn't matter, backup quarterback or not. The Jags will come out here and win this game by over a touchdown. Give me Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to be a big factor in this game. I think the line will probably move once he gets announced in the game, just because he's that big of a factor when it comes to this offense. Now, like you said, Travis Etienne's a stud. I mean, this kid, what he did last week was unbelievable. I mean, and especially to the Colts, but not only to the Colts, what he did against the Bills, against one of the better run defenses in football. The guy is an absolute monster, and they use him in a lot of ways too, which I think even if Trevor Lawrence does not play in the game, it's not going to be as big of a factor because simply, CJ Beathard is going to turn into a Brock Purdy, get the ball out. Get the ball out of your hands and let him go. And that's what the Saints have struggled with, man. You've seen, for a better part of that game last week, C.J. Stroud was picking apart that defense, which I like in the way that I think Calvin Ridley can have still a big day, and I think that Christian Kirk has kind of been Trevor Lawrence's, I would say, weapon and when he faces adversity on third down, finding him on third down, third and long, finding him in second long situations, he's kind of been the guy. Now that could go back a little bit for sure, but with CJ Beathard in the game, man, I mean, this is going to be a Saints team that probably thinks they're going to be able to get after the quarterback a little bit. But like you said, the Saints offense is so, especially last week, was so heavy reliant on Kamara to make big plays and heavy on him out of the backfield instead of actually throwing the ball deep to Chris Olave, which they did twice successfully, but it's just not going to be enough against this Jags secondary that looks better and better and better every single week. So I would love the Jags in this game. That's probably going to be my play, and I'm assuming if Lawrence doesn't play, the line goes at least a 3 TP, and I absolutely love that. I love that.
Yeah, the line was actually at 3 earlier today. Then Lawrence got said that he was possibly going to play in the game. Then the line moved back to 1. But I think the line will go to a pick 'em. Maybe Jags -1 if Lawrence is ruled in. Maybe 1.5. I don't see it going past -1.5 though. Once T-Law's ruled in this game, but actually Lloyd too. I finally got to look at my stats here.
Yeah.
The Jags pass defense hasn't been that great, but if you change it to the first half, the Jags still have a top 15 pass defense in the first half. It's in the second half of these games where teams are throwing the football once the Jags are beating their ass. But also, the Jags have the 3rd best run defense in terms of yardage in the NFL right now. I think this Jags defense will force turnovers. I want Derek Carr to be sitting back there throwing the football. I don't want him to be getting the freebies on the ground. He's going to have to throw the football in this game. If Derek Carr is going to be back there throwing the football 30 times in this game, he's definitely going to throw 2 interceptions.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing that worries me a little bit is this New Orleans defense. And that's the only – I mean, they've been great. They're 5th against the pass or 9th against the run. They're allowing 16
They played
points
nobody,
per game.
though.
But they, again, like you brought up, TP, you just said it right there. They haven't played anybody really with an explosive offense. And this is one of the better teams converting on third down and putting up points, or top 10 offense in football when it comes to points per game. I think this Jags team probably gets it done with or without Lawrence, simply just because of how bad this Saints offense is. Am I pulling it up here? There it is. Okay, good. Yeah, man, but I don't know, man. I think this game's going to be an interesting one. I think the Saints probably lose this one outright to the Jags, no matter who plays in that game tomorrow night. I'll be taking the Jags if the line moves. Like you said, we'll wait for it tomorrow, and we'll pick it up from there.
We'll be jagging off.
How about Duval? No, fucking
Duval all day.
Duval day, baby. All right, man. So that game tomorrow night, 2 games tonight, college football Saturday, some big time games, man. That are going to have a lot of impact when it comes. We're talking college football playoff in a couple weeks, man. We got a OSU, Penn State, Bama, Tennessee, Duke, FSU, and Utah, USC. We're going to go over all these, and we'll start with the biggest one of them all. Is OSU versus Penn State this weekend. Obviously, my Buckeyes. pretty much have their toughest game of the season. I would say this is probably the first competitive game for both these squads this year, as they're both coming in 6-0. The spread, the game is at OSU, which I do love. It's -4.5, totals at 45.5. TP, I don't know if you've already capped this game, but it's really hard for me as an OSU guy. I'm probably going to stay away from this game simply because I don't think Ohio State covers that number.
I disagree with you, Lloyd. I'm going to take the 4.5
Really?
here with Ohio State. First of all, I think Penn State's going to be more of the public side here, but it's not even me trying to play the public here.
Yeah.
I don't think Penn State's going to come in here and get it done. Penn State has played nobody. I know for a fact that Ohio State has a legit defense that is going to be hard to go against. Penn State's not hitting explosive plays. Their numbers don't grade out well as hitting explosives. I mean, I think this game is probably more of an under game, but at the same time, there's no way I'm betting under 46 in college football. That's 2 interceptions and 2 missed tackles from going way over the total. So I lean towards the over, actually, but James Franklin doesn't play well in big games. James Franklin is 2-11 on the road versus top 25 teams. He's 0-9 on the road versus top 10 teams. He's 1-8 versus Ohio State and 1-11 versus top 5 teams. James Franklin does not show up in these big matchups. Everybody's going to look at the fact that Penn State against the spread. Look, I heard all this hype about Drew Aller before the season, Lloyd, but I haven't seen it. I've watched them play so many times. And I sit there and watch them throw 2-3 yard passes and then punt, and then they just sit back and play defense. Both these teams are top 5 in college football, but are giving up like 8 and 9 points per game. Oh, at least Ohio State's played somebody. Penn State's played fucking nobody. Give me a break, Penn State. Y'all are gonna come in the shoe and get embarrassed, in my opinion. I think Ohio State wins by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, man, I don't know. This is one of those games where Ohio State's defense is legit. But Penn State's defense is also very legit. But again, against nobody, it's tough, right? I get it. But pretty much when it comes to total yards per game, they're allowing 221 total yards per game. It is first in the country when it comes to that. Now, Ohio State's obviously played some teams. It's a little bit different. The good thing about Ohio State's defense is I would consider it maybe a top 5 pass defense in the league.
Exactly.
And we haven't seen a lot of, I don't know. I don't think we've seen a lot of explosive plays necessarily out of Drew Aller, and seen his ability to scramble out of the pocket. And again, his ability to face adversity. This Penn State team has not seen any adversity this season so far at all. At least the Buckeyes, played bad against Maryland in the first half and have covered. And then last week at Purdue, that's a team that had owned us previously in the last couple of years, man. That we don't go and play there great in their house. To go in there and get a big time win. I know Purdue's not anything special, but to go in there and beat them the way that we did, I think was very impressive offensively. Kyle McCord is a guy that's getting better and better and better every single week. Now, the bad part for Ohio State is we rely a lot on our run game for the ability to set up our pass game. Now, Trevion Henderson, he's questionable to play. It's tough. I don't know if he will or not. But Mayan Williams is a great backup guy. I mean, he was a guy that I grew up with. He went to Winton Woods here in high school, played against him in football. He was an absolute stud. And he's just one of those guys that has kind of found his way into this Ohio State offense. And I think that if we can get him going early, I do think the game goes under, simply because I don't think Penn State's going to be able to score the ball a lot, which I do think. So I think that this game, there's 2 ways this game goes in my head, TP. Ohio State wins 17-14, doesn't cover.
Okay.
Or it's an absolute shootout, like you said. And Marvin Harrison has himself a day. Drew Aller shows up and shows out, shows why we gave him all this hype preseason, right? And maybe Penn State wins outright in a shootout. I think the only way Penn State wins this game is in a shootout. Defensively, like we said, we've seen Ohio State against Notre Dame, right? We've seen Ohio State against a Maryland team that's pretty explosive offensively. We don't really have too much. Penn State's beat what? Northwestern, they beat Illinois. I mean, these are not very good teams, man. So the tough part is with that is this game's going to be close. I really do. The 4.5 is tough. As an OSU guy, I mean, at home, we win these big games. On the road, we usually don't. So I do love the fact that the game is at home. But if you put a gun to my head, told me to take Ohio State, I don't know if I could do it. But again, I love my Buckeyes. I'm going to be rocking with my Buckeyes. My play in the game would probably be the under 45.5 if I had to play it. But again, I'm excited for this one, TP. And again, this is a game that has a lot of college football playoff implications, TP. And, Penn State at 7, they're looking to kind of get over that hump that they haven't been able to get over the past couple of years. Well, because Penn State's always been, okay, they're going to be there at the end of the year. They're going to lose to Ohio State and Michigan, and they're going to be out of the playoff. They're going to go win the Rose Bowl. They're going to be 11-2. It's exactly what happened last year. Now, this year, they got a better team. A lot of their team, too, is young. We don't talk about that with this Penn State team. A lot of their team is sophomores and freshmen, especially on the defensive side of the football. This is a team that's, better years could be in front of them, I guess. But it's time for the Nittany Lions to take that next step, and we're going to see on Saturday if they can do that. Would you say, TP, that the loser of this game is probably out of the college football playoff?
Okay,
or do you think it's an Oregon-Washington situation where, like, okay, you know what, the committee's like, that was a great game, and Oregon only drops one spot, and Washington stays in the same spot. What's your opinion there?
So, to be honest with you, I think if Ohio State loses, they're probably out of it, because I personally don't think Ohio State will be able to win at Michigan.
Yeah.
While I don't think Michigan's as good as people think they are, but at the same time, I also don't think Michigan's going to go on the road and win at Penn State. Like I talked about it on our podcast on Monday. Yeah. For those of you who follow me on Twitter at CP3Bets, y'all saw me talking about it on there. In a season where all of college football looks to be so equal to each other, there is no way in hell you're going to convince me that this Michigan team, who's played absolutely fucking nobody, the biggest joke schedule I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah. Like, I can't even believe, Lloyd, they let them get away with it. It is the worst schedule ever. Honestly, like, it's embarrassing that they put up this kind of schedule and they want to talk shit like they're this, that, and the other. ESPN's trying to push them as the best team in the nation. It's a fucking joke, dude. It pisses me off, honestly. Michigan's not that good. Michigan lost to TCU last year. It was embarrassing. In my opinion, sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent.
No,
it's really been pissing me off.
You're more than welcome, bro. I mean, I know that you've been the best part about you is you've been on this same side since the beginning of the year. You said that Michigan was not going to be very good. You said that J.J. McCarthy's not going to be a Heisman candidate. You said that, maybe they're getting everybody back, but sure, they're not one of the best teams in college football. And yeah, right now, Michigan does look like arguably the best team in college football playing who they've played. But at the end of the year, this is what always happens in Michigan. We always get that, we always get that Jim Harbaugh fuck up at the end of the year where they just can't win the big game. And against Ohio State, they've won it the last 2 years. Yeah, it's been one of Ohio State's downfalls at the end of the season is that loss to Michigan. But with that being said, now you got to go to Penn State. And I think that I 100% agree with you, man. And this is one of those things where for the college football committee, it's not going to be easy because if Ohio State if Penn State comes to Ohio State this weekend, Ohio State wins that game by 7 points. Michigan goes to Penn State beats Michigan. Ohio State goes to Ann Arbor and loses in Ann Arbor. Now you got all Big Ten teams are 1-1-1. It pretty much in big time games, right? Or they're all three of them are 1-1 in the games that really matter in the Big Ten, right? There's not no 2-0 team. That's a tough choice, TP. So, I mean, I guess my question for you at this point would be, what would you turn to as kind of, I don't know, the statistic side of it? Who would you put in analytically in that situation if all these teams beat up on each other?
Yeah. I think that I think that Ohio State, this is a must win for them at home. Like, they can't lose this game and go to Michigan. So I think, honestly, I don't see Michigan winning at Penn State. That's one of the toughest places to play in Happy Valley. Yep. Penn State will be licking their wound to Ohio State, in my opinion, and they'll come out and they'll beat Michigan, and then Michigan will bounce back and beat Ohio State. And then I don't know how the tiebreaker works for the Big Ten championship, but I mean, Michigan's whoever goes to the Big Ten championship game will definitely be the champion. I think that's ultimately who that they're going to select to make the college football playoff because Iowa's going to win this other side of the Big Ten. The Big Ten, in my opinion, has 3 teams, and the rest of the teams besides Maryland are a total joke and embarrassment to college football. Like, that Iowa and Wisconsin game is is ridiculous. How are we playing games like this in 2023? Like, it doesn't make
I
any sense to
absolutely
me.
agree with you.
Yeah, I know that
Absolutely.
game's on your shit list too, Lloyd.
Oh,
So
that game's on my shit. That game. I don't even want to talk about that game. I can't even talk about that.
yeah, exactly. So like when I look at this, I think that this game's gonna be massive because the Big Ten's gonna get somebody in there. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC make up the majority of people who watch college football, so they're gonna
Right.
get somebody in the playoff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be very interesting if it all comes down to it, and Michigan and Ohio State play in that game. You're right. The winner moves on. But it's going to be a great game this weekend. I'm very, very excited for it. I do think OSU wins the game. It's going to be tough to take the 4.5. I just think it's a field goal type of game. Now on to Tennessee, Bama, man, and we'll kind of run through these real quick. Tennessee, Bama this weekend. Tennessee at Bama -8.5 is Bama. The total's at 48.5. Tennessee's 5-1. Coming off a win against Texas A&M, where I'm not going to lie, they didn't look very good. But A&M didn't look great either. And then Bama just beat up on Arkansas at home 24-21 in a game where, as an Arkansas guy, I like this Arkansas team. Man. I'm a big fan of KJ Jefferson. He's been there a while. I think the kid can play football. This is a game that Bama should have won at home by 1,000,000 points. Arkansas didn't do nothing special. I mean, they didn't look very good. They didn't run the football well. KJ Jefferson just pretty much was a dog in this game and was like, all right, we're not going to get embarrassed, which is pretty much what happened. And Bama just something about Bama isn't impressive, man. And I don't know what it is because their defense has been fine, I guess, to score enough points to win the games. And Jalen Milroe has gotten better since the loss at home to Texas. But this is going to be a very hard game at home. Tennessee's coming in guns blazing, got nothing to lose. Both teams already have a loss, but man, they want to make a statement in this game at Bama. They beat them last year, and can they do it again, TP? I don't know. Can they?
Lloyd, they cannot do it, and I'm sure of that. This is one of my 3 strongest plays of the entire weekend. Alabama is going to come out here and embarrass Tennessee.
Right.
This is one of the South's biggest rivalries is Alabama versus Tennessee. Like, this is the game where the Alabama fans, they smoke cigars after because they smoke on that Tennessee pack because they've been destroying them the past couple of years. Tennessee got their lick back last year and got a huge win against them in a crazy game. It's not happening this year. This Tennessee team is the exact opposite of what they are last year. Joe Milton, they don't trust him. They just run the football. I hope you didn't watch the Texas A&M Tennessee game last week because it was disgusting to watch. But Tennessee ran the ball, and sat back and let Texas A&M make mistakes. Alabama, Jalen Milroe's been getting better every single week. They have not blocked for him well, but I don't think Tennessee can put pressure on him. I think Milroe's going to sit back here and pick them apart through the air. And we saw Tennessee go on the road and lose to Florida in the Swamp. This might be a harder place to play than the Swamp, even though the Swamp is extremely hard. I don't want to take anything away from them down there, even though I hate Florida. But I don't think they're going to be ready to come to play in this spot. I think that Tennessee is going to get destroyed in this game. I think Joe Milton will turn the ball over multiple times in this game, and I think Tennessee is going to get run off this field. I think Alabama early, Alabama often. Alabama -8.5, -9. Take it because they're winning this game by 21 points.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, there's that is 100% a possibility in this game. I lean towards the under, simply because I don't know if Tennessee is going to be able to score the football. I mean, we saw them on the road against Florida. They only put up 16. They've not been a good road team, especially when they play any kind of big-time SEC opponent. And Joe Milton, what a disappointing start to the year for Joe Milton, man. I mean, a guy that last year kind of took this Tennessee team under his wing at the end of the season, looked really good, and we all expect him to come out this year, be a Heisman candidate, have this Tennessee team at the top of the SEC, and it's kind of just not really happened the way that we all thought it would. He's not very accurate. He can throw the ball 1,000 fucking yards, but it doesn't really matter when he can't play football at an elite level against high SEC defenses. No, I don't think it does. So Bama -8.5, it's a lot of points. This is a game that I'll stay away from and bet the under. I've actually been honing down on Bama unders this year simply because simply because their defense is that great and their offense hasn't been spectacular.
Good call.
So against Ole Miss we hit it, against A&M we hit it, and last week against Arkansas it hit as well. So I mean this is one of them kind of situations where I'll be an under guy in this game. But Bama -8.5, man, for all the right reasons that you brought up about this Tennessee team not being able to score the football. I think is just a great play for Alabama, -8.5, especially at home. And this Bama team, TP, we're not talking really enough about them. They're going to try to make that push at the end of the year, man. We all know Nick Saban. He's not
I
going to
agree.
he's not going to turn his wing about not getting into the college football playoff. He's going to try to get this team in, man. If they get in that SEC matchup against Georgia, obviously in the championship game, that game's going to be an unbelievable game, as it is every year. And they'll probably both still get in, but Bama's going to need to win that game, TP, in order to get in.
Yeah, they definitely will. I think Bama matches up pretty well against Georgia. The one game they have left that really scares me is the LSU game. Like, I think the LSU game could really, I mean, I think LSU's offense might be too explosive for them, but at the same time, LSU has zero defense. I will say, though, when I watched that game against Missouri, they said that LSU switched like one of their defensive assistants to their defensive coordinator now.
Really?
So, yeah, and so their defense actually picked it up a lot in the second half. Their defense looked good against who did they play this last against Auburn, but Auburn's offense isn't anything for
Auburn's awful, though.
It's tough to judge off that Auburn offense, but they're going to play Army this week, so we won't get a good read on it, but I think this LSU defense might have turned a corner. If they can, this offense is insane. They've only lost one game. It's going to come down to that game, and I guarantee you, Lloyd, Georgia cannot hang with any of the top 3 teams from the SEC West.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's going to be a great one. Bama, Tennessee, it's always a fun one. I do lean Bama -8.5. I think you have a great point there, especially at home, TP, and I'm obviously leaning the under as well. On to one of the bigger games this weekend, obviously involving your team, TP, is
Let's go.
a game that the Florida State Seminoles, I mean, are arguably, I would say, a top 2 team in college football. I mean, they're offensively, weapon-wise, quarterback-wise with Jordan Travis. I mean, the whole team is just unbelievable what Florida State's been able to do. They're 6-0, obviously going up against Duke this weekend. It's 5-1 with a loss to Notre Dame in a game that you could argue they shouldn't have really lost the game. So I agree. That's a tough matchup, man. So this weekend going into – you guys are at home against the Devils team, and you're a 14.5-point favorite. TP, that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points, and to be honest with you, Lloyd, I can't bet on this game. I'm going to stay away from it. So I do want to give Duke a lot of respect. This defense is legit that they have. Duke's defense, I believe, is holding teams to under 10 points per. It's either like 11 or they're top 10 in the nation in scoring defense, regardless.
11 or 11.5.
Yeah, Riley Leonard's probably going to come back and try to play in this game. He warmed up last week and was basically like back and forth all day if he was going to play or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our offense is a lot better than theirs. I just don't think Duke has explosive enough of an offense to hang with us in this game. 14 points, though, with how good Elko's defense is. I do think they're going to stop us some. I mean, I don't like betting an under in a game that's this low in college football. Like I always say, the biggest joke in college football is teams actually having good defenses.
Right.
So I just can't bet on this game altogether, but Johnny Wilson will be back. I think Florida State comes out here and wins this game, but I think Duke might give us all we want and more. Elko does a damn good job with this team and this defense. I don't know how much longer he'll be the head coach there because I think one of these big name teams is about to come get him paid. He deserves it.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I think that Duke, I'm going to take Duke in the 14.5. I just think it's a lot of points. Okay. I do think Florida State will win the game, obviously at home. Florida State, the thing is with their offense, man, is they can beat you in a multitude of ways. And that's the thing that's scary about this offense is you have Keon Coleman, who is just an absolute literally him as a wide receiver in football. Like I would say the best out there that there is. And Johnny Wilson is Mike Evans 2.0 running around the field. And if he plays in this game for Duke, Duke's defense is really, really good. But there's a lot of defenses that are out there that are really, really good that just at the end of the day, it comes down to one-on-one coverage. Who has the better players? And offensively, it just is Florida State. I mean, this Duke secondary, they can play zone. Florida State will beat you in man. They'll beat you in zone. It doesn't matter really what you do, man. And Jordan Travis is so good that he can really read through it all. So this Duke team this weekend, if they can score enough points, they'll cover. If not, they won't be able to. I'm willing to take a chance on Riley Leonard playing this weekend. I think I'm not going to get it at a better number than I am right now. So I'm going to take the 14.5. But again, this is not a Florida State team that I expect to lose this ball game by any means, just because of how explosive they are offensively. The total is tough because I could honestly. I really lean the over because I really think that we could get one of them situations where this is a 38-14 ball game and the over hits because Florida State puts up so many fucking points. So the over I do lean Duke as well. And in the last game of the week that we'll kind of get to here, TP, is Utah versus USC. USC coming off a bad loss on Notre Dame, and Utah, I mean, only they're 6-1 this year, or 5-1 this year. Only lost to Oregon State at Oregon State to DJ Uiagalelei 21-7. And I fucking hate Utah. Their offense is abysmal. They have one of the better defenses in the country, you could say, but against this USC offense, I don't think it'll matter, especially coming off that loss to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now you go back home against a conference opponent that you have to beat. USC has to win this football game. And Caleb Williams showed last week spurts of, oh shit, is he not the guy that we thought he was against an elite level defense? Is he not that guy? Against Utah this week. Now he's had his problems with Utah in the past.
Yeah.
But is Cameron Rising going to be back in this game? Do we know?
I've been hearing now that Cam Rising's probably not going to even play football this year, and he'll be back for his 7th year after taking a medical red shirt. So that's what I've been hearing, Lloyd.
That's insane, man. Wow. I mean, now that would be the difference in this game. USC -7 will be my play, TP. What do you got for this game?
Yeah, this is probably my second most strongest play of the week behind Alabama and my total, which you're going to have to get on SoBet if you're not already subscribed on there.
Damn
but
right, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. I had to plug SoBet on here. But anyway,
that's right, brother.
I love this spot for USC. Double revenge last year. Utah beat them twice and ruined their chances to go to the college football playoff. USC hadn't forgot this. Utah on offense is literally the Iowa of the West Coast. They are so inept on offense. If you go to Utah, good luck playing them there. Well, this game is going to be played in Southern Cal. I like USC's chances a lot. USC, following a loss, has gone 14-4-1 against the spread as a single-digit favorite against opponents since 2005, covering by an average of 10 points per game.
Wow.
Look, I know they lost the undefeated season. Caleb Williams is getting dragged in the media. He needs a bounce-back game. They can still win the Pac-12, and they can still go to the college football playoff if they're able to win this conference and go undefeated in it. I like the Trojans to get it done big, early, and often. I'm going to stay away from the total because I don't think Utah will do much. I think this is the one matchup where USC's bad defense doesn't hurt them. Give me USC to win by 3 touchdowns.
I 100% agree, man. I'm on the exact same side for the exact same reasons. This Utah offense can't score, and USC has no defense, but it really doesn't matter in this matchup, not going to lie.
Exactly.
But, fellas, it's going to be a fun one, man. It's going to be a fun little week of college football ahead at TP. It's always great to catch up with you, bro. Do these little solo shows that we do and talk college football because I know there's no two bigger college football guys than these two right here. And again, fellas, if you guys are not following TP on all of his socials, on Twitter, on SoBet, on Instagram, TikTok, all of them, man, TP3Bets is where you find him. I'm your host, Lloyd's Locks. And as always, we will see you fellas next week. And if you guys aren't on SoBet, sign up.